Hello and welcome back to Whitney Alex Works recap of The Bachelorette Season 19, Episode 5. Gabby, Rachel, and the 14 remaining men sail to Belgium next on their European cruise. One man flips, which changes everything for everyone as the feelings are getting more real and more intense. Hometowns are getting closer as getting a rose means more than ever. Let's dive into Episode 5. We left last week's episode off with the Logan issue. Logan has decided that he ultimately wants to pursue Gabby instead of Rachel, and he's finally going to reveal his true intentions this week. We see him head to Rachel's room to finally let her know that he is going to pursue Gabby. Rachel opens the door and she is at first pleasantly surprised, but quickly Logan gets to the point and tells her that he respects what they had, but he ultimately has feelings for Gabby. Rachel is shocked, but does her best to stay composed as she hears Logan out. He tells her that Gabby and him had an early connection and he can't stop thinking about her. Rachel is confused as to why he waited so long to choose Gabby when they were supposed to pick sides back in episode 3. Logan doesn't give the best answer because there is no good answer, but he goes with he is following his heart. Well, with Logan breaking it off with Rachel, he is now in this gray area where he is going to see if Gabby will accept his love and give him a chance. With Logan leaving Team Rachel, Rachel is, of course, upset. She feels that her time as the Bachelorette is becoming a failure and she feels like she may want to step away from it all. But then Jesse Palmer heads in to talk to a sad Rachel and she explains that she feels like her experience is getting out of control. And Jesse tells her that things may look bleak right now, but looking at the brighter side, she is closer to finding her person with the men who ultimately want to pursue just her. Basically, he tells her to focus on the quality over quantity and knows that this is part of the journey of finding love as the Bachelorette. But Rachel's state of mind is that she is too down to head out on her planned group date in Bruges, Belgium. So instead of Rachel meeting up with the 5-on-1 date, the 5 men are greeted by host Jesse Palmer, explaining to them that Rachel is upset and that she had to cancel the daytime portion of the date. But there is hope as there will be a nighttime portion of the date. This news shocks the men as they knew something could be up, considering Logan is missing from the group date, and the men are expressing their hurt and concern about Rachel's state of being as there is another canceled event. Then there is another knock knock, and this time Logan is knocking on Gabby's door. Gabby is surprised and they sit down to talk. Logan finally tells Gabby his intentions. He tells her that he has always had an interest in her and that he has broken it off with Rachel, ultimately hoping to pursue just Gabby. Gabby responds with surprise, but she seems charmed by Logan's gesture. She does confirm that there was something back in week 2 when they kissed, and she confesses that he was the only overlap with herself and Rachel. Gabby then tells Logan that this is her worst nightmare, and she says that she acknowledges his gesture, but she needs to talk to Rachel first. So another knock knock. This time Gabby is checking in with Rachel and they start talking, checking in with each other as Rachel says she feels humiliated by Logan and that he ultimately is untrustworthy. But Gabby explains to Rachel that she wants to explore things with Logan, citing that they did have a connection early on in the show. So we leave it at that for now, with Rachel heading into her group date with the Logan cloud above her. So Rachel heads in to greet her remaining 6 men and explains what happened earlier in the day to cause her to cancel the day portion of the group date. She tells the men that she is dealing with tough emotions as she feels like she is constantly dealing with rejection and she feels vulnerable. But her remaining men make an effort to support Rachel as she is seen talking to Ethan, who tells her he is happy when Rachel smiles and they share a kiss. What's funny is during this group date, I asked myself, how the heck is Meatball still here? But Meatball and the other men do their best to support Rachel. Then we see Tino, who tells Rachel that he feels unseen and that he was hurt that she canceled the daytime portion, citing that they could have made better memories and that he would have been there for her, hoping that she can open up to him during hard times. And then Rachel tells Tino that she does see him, and then they kiss, with me thinking that Rachel was kissing her future husband right then and there. But again, even with Tino and Rachel's strong connection, very obvious connection, other men like Tyler and Zach were seen connecting with Rachel also, both kissing her and deepening their connections as well. But at the end of the group date, Rachel gives the group date rose to Tino, securing him another week. And with that, the emotions are getting real as the other men are disappointed that Tino ultimately got the rose, and it's becoming evident that choices made will be more impactful than they've ever been. We finally see Gabby after talking to Logan, and she is on her group date with a 6-to-1 ratio, with Johnny getting the one-on-one date shown off screen. Gabby is determined to have an open heart and an open mind as she explores Belgium with 6 of her men. They travel on boats and canals and eat Belgian waffles together, all the while making connections with the men. Then they are seen playing soccer or football, as they call it in Europe, with some local kids. And overall, it's seen as a fun time with the men getting competitive about making a connection with Gabby. They end the daytime portion of the date with drinking beer and playing a game of Belgium rock, paper, scissors, where the loser gets slapped in the face with a fish. No, you really can't make this stuff up, and all in all, everything is going well with Gabby's group date. It's the nighttime portion of Gabby's date, and we see Logan walking up the stairs and eventually joins the group date. The men are completely shocked and confused, and of course, a little ticked off. Logan then explains himself and his intentions, and then Gabby shows up and also explains the situation. The Logan issue throws a wrench in the entire system as Gabby's remaining men are rightly skeptical of Logan showing up and flipping to Team Gabby, and this makes many of the men question their relationship with Gabby as well as question where Gabby's feelings truly lie. So, while some men are drinking their sorrows away at the bar, Gabby is still making connections. First seen with Nate, who tells her he is still all in on her, and they share a kiss. Also, Eric is seen connecting with Gabby, and they too share a kiss. Then newcomer Logan is seen connecting with Gabby, and they too share a kiss. And the concern is whether or not Gabby will give the group date rose to Logan, but she ends up giving the group date rose to Nate, securing him another week with Gabby. But the Logan issue persists. Will Gabby give a rose to Logan over the other men who have been Team Gabby since the beginning? Well, with that question lingering over the rest of the episode, we head to week 5's one-on-one dates. First up is Avon and Rachel. Rachel is on her one-on-one date with Avon, a sales executive from San Diego, and a connection she has been building for a while since week 1. They spend the day exploring Bruges, Belgium, riding a carriage, and comparing their horoscopes. And the whole time, Rachel thinks Avon is handsome and feels the feels with him. They end up in a romantic chocolate shop and share even more romantic moments when they run into a group of women sewing a wedding veil. Rachel tries one on and ends up kissing Avon in it, furthering their connection. Avon and Rachel head out for their nighttime portion of their one-on-one date where they reflect on their day together. They both enjoyed their date and are happy to be around each other, but Avon is ready to share his story. He shares with Rachel that he comes from a broken family, having lived with his father growing up and not seen his mother much. But now that he is older, he has a close relationship with his mom and even gives Rachel a bracelet made from his mother, which Rachel accepts, feeling elated with Avon. And at the end of the date, Rachel gives Avon the rose, securing him another week with Rachel. They end up kissing and watching fireworks as Avon tells the camera that he sees a future with Rachel. Gabby chooses Johnny, a 25-year-old realtor from Florida, for her one-on-one date, and they spend the day drinking beer and having a fun spa day together. Gabby says she thrives in spas as she whacks Johnny playfully with some herbs, and they take a beer bath together where they are connecting and laughing. But like other relationships, Gabby hopes to get to the real meat and potatoes of who Johnny is. They head to the nighttime portion of the one-on-one date where they are surrounded by beautiful medieval themed paintings and a romantic atmosphere where Johnny opens up about his struggles in his life, with battling anxiety and depression, as well as being hurt from a past relationship. Gabby listens and supports Johnny as he opens up, and at the end of the date, Gabby gives the rose to Johnny, securing him another week. Well, with all the dates finished, another week has passed, and it's time for another rose ceremony. But first, Gabby and Rachel toast to the evening, both thankful for the men and hopeful that the relationships are becoming stronger. We see some more connections being made, again with Gabby and Nate. Gabby gives chocolate to Nate to give to his daughter, and Nate is touched, and they end up kissing some more. Also, Gabby plays the Belgium rock, paper, scissors game with Logan and slaps him with a fish, only to kiss him afterwards. And I'm asking myself, what the hell is going on anymore? But as Gabby said earlier in the episode, here we are. And again, the Logan issue is about whether or not he made the right decision flipping to Team Gabby and whether or not he will get the rose at the end of the night. So again, here we are, another rose ceremony, and as a recap, Avon and Tino are safe for Rachel, Nate and Johnny are safe for Gabby. The following men are called out in order, securing them another week. First, Gabby calls Jason, securing him another week. Next, Rachel calls Zach, giving him a rose. Gabby then calls Spencer. Rachel then calls Tyler. Gabby calls Eric. Then already we are at the last rose for both bachelorettes. Rachel calls Ethan, giving him her last rose. And Gabby calls Logan, giving him another week with Gabby and shocking the men all around. And despite the risk, Logan made it through. But hometowns are around the corner, and the question now becomes, will he last much longer? Well, with the roses given out, Meatball, or also known as his real name, James, shockingly Mario, Gabby's first impression rose, and Michael, a pharmaceutical salesman, are all going home. 11 men remain, 6 remaining for Gabby, and 5 remaining for Rachel. Next week, everyone heads to Amsterdam, where the roses mean a ticket to hometowns. And as it gets even more serious, the goodbyes will be even harder. Thank you for watching Whitney Alex Works recap of The Bachelorette Season 19, Episode 5. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe at Whitney Alex Works for more videos in the future. See you soon for the next episode.